Hello everybody. I'm guessing for most of you this is the first time you're seeing me. If so, hello. The basic idea of this video is to just do a walkthrough with you and do the setup and then install if you're not comfortable with that. So let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a GitHub account. And holy cow. I'm not sure that I'm not a robot. Okay, let's move to the next step while that's happening in the background. I'm going to install Anaconda. When you click on that link, it takes you to this page. I'm running Windows. This is a plain empty Windows computer. There's nothing on it. So hopefully what I do in this video will kind of match what you have on your own computer in terms of experience. If you're running Mac, the TA should be able to help you. All right. So Anaconda is going to be downloading in the background, and we'll pick up this video when that download is done. In the meantime, I'm going to run the downloads for Git, which is the controlling software for version control that we're going to run. If you're on Mac, you might not need this. Download starting. All right, and I'm also going to start the download for GitHub Desktop. Okay, it took a minute or so to download on my computer, but I'm ready to install. So let's do that, and we'll see how long it takes. I'm going to just more or less accept the defaults across the board. Just me is fine. I'll let it go to its default location. I am not going to add it to my path environment variable. All right, so Anaconda is installed. It's a good idea to just make sure you have the most recent version of all of the packages that come with Anaconda. So the way we're going to do this is to open what's called on Windows, the Anaconda prompt. And we will type conda update -- all and hit enter. And this process will run in the background. It's usually pretty quick. All right, we might get intermittent questions about proceeding, and when I get those, I typically just say yes. All right. All right, that's it. We have updated all of the internal resources of Anaconda, which is, or all the packages, which is more or less nothing because we just installed it. So now that I've installed Anaconda, I've updated it, I'm going to test start Jupyter Lab just to see what happens. So let's go. The quickest way for me usually to start it is to use Anaconda prompt, and I simply type Jupyter space lab and hit enter. This is Jupyter Lab. And what you see is you have a menu on the left, which basically looks like the File Explorer. At some point, we're going to need to decide where we put all of our code for the class, and we'll deal with that all later. In the middle of this, you have the launcher where you can open code, whether you want to write something called a markdown file, which we will do, whether you want to write just simple Python in the console or Python in the notebook. All of these things will start to make sense soon. I'd recommend just looking at the documentation. Just for your entertainment, I'll click on a Python notebook and I will write and I will execute my first code. Well, there we have it. We're off and running. That's all we really wanted to do in this test, just to make sure we could open up a file and run it. You notice this created an untitled code file. We can change the name of it. But in any case, right now what I'm going to do is just close, discard these changes, close Jupyter Lab, and move on to the next thing. All right, we have Anaconda. It's installed. We can open Jupyter Lab. We can type one line of code and it works. Let's install Git. If you are running an operating system that's not Windows, if you're running Mac, you might not need to do this. Again, I would point you towards the TA, who is the Mac expert for the class. I downloaded the Git by clicking on that link, and I will now follow the install process for it, which, again, I'm more or less just going to accept the defaults across the board. Now this is a great place for you to decide what you want Git's default editor to be. You should probably click on an editor that you've already installed. Turns out this choice doesn't matter because for the purposes of this class, we're never going to use Git in a text editor. All right. So I'll click Notepad. It's the default. And I'm just going to move on. I'll let Git decide on the name of new repositories. I'm going to follow the recommended choice here and just kind of fly through. I hope it works. If it doesn't, we'll debug it later. But I think it'll work. All right, we're ready to go. Now the last thing is to install GitHub Desktop. And again, I'm going to be basic and install with all of the default settings. All right, looks like we're ready to go. Let's sign in. All right, I had to log in with my real GitHub account because GitHub flagged my temporary practice account as spam. So let's log into the real one and sign in. It asks me to open GitHub Desktop. I give it permission to do so. And I have to configure Git. And I'm simply going to accept that. And I'm ready to go.